Okay, I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. We are the goddesses taking over today for Tasha. We are super, super happy to be here. So I'm Kim, and we have Carol and Ziamara with us. And we're just going to be sharing a little bit of your story or our stories so that we can tell you a little bit about what Tasha's been teaching us and what we've been learning from it. But just a good morning to everybody. I hope everyone's had a great weekend and a very happy, wealthy Monday to everyone. So you can go ahead and put any comments you have in the chat, and hopefully we will be able to see those. If you say good morning and just tell us a little bit about where you're coming from, that would be super cool for us. So just a little bit about me. I will get right into it. If you want to also just tell us in the chat how everyone's feeling this early Monday morning. I know the three of us are up bright and early, and we're all a little bit nervous taking over for Tasha because those are big shoes to fill, even for this week. So we are excited to be here. And like I said, we just are going to tell you a little bit about our stories. So I own a dog training business, and I'm sure some of you can relate. I have been in business for a very long time and pretty successful in some ways, but I felt like no matter how much money I made, it was always just going back out the door. And I always had more expenses than I had income coming in. And after trying to figure that out on my own for many, many, many years, working with Tasha really taught me that it wasn't about necessarily the business strategies that I thought I was really lacking, but it was a lot about my mindset and some of the money traumas that I had. And I was just constantly spinning my wheels. So after, working with Tasha, there are so many things that she taught me. I can't tell you how many times I read in a book that I should be journaling every day, and I fought against that. I don't know about you ladies, but I was constantly fighting against that. Like, I don't have time to journal. I don't want to journal. It seems like it's a lot of work to journal. So the journaling was a big piece for me. And once I started doing that, it really started like making sense and falling into place. And so that was definitely something that has helped me tremendously, which I didn't understand why it would. And now that I'm doing it, it really makes a huge difference. It's also understanding where my money supply came from. So I really, I always heard that, your supply comes from God, universe, source, but really like not fully understanding that in the same way that I do now. And one of the things that we do as goddesses is we read a lot. And one thing that I've learned throughout being a goddess is there's a big difference between reading a book and studying a book. And I think that before I was a goddess, I was reading a lot. I was consuming a lot of information, but I wasn't studying it. I was just reading through it and not really dissecting it, picking it apart, understanding what I was reading. So that has made a huge difference in understanding. And that's where I pair that in with where my supply comes from, because once I started to understand that a little bit better and really kind of look at it on a deeper level instead of just reading it on a surface level, it made a huge difference for me. And then along with that comes having faith and believing that the money will come to me. So again, I was one of those, I always had more expenses going out than coming in. I would stress, Tasha, would tell me every single week, I would worry about payroll, and I would be like, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll this week. I don't know what is going to, come in. I don't have any real consistent cash flow. So that was a big problem. And I'll never forget the first time that I took a huge leap of faith. So what had happened was I had other bills that were due before payroll was due. And my usual MO, what I would tend to do is save. I would not pay anything before I had to pay payroll because I always wanted to make sure I had money in my payroll account. And I had other bills that were due that I needed to pay, and I paid them not having the money then to pay payroll. And that was the first time that money just like showed up out of nowhere into my account. I was shocked. I was like, okay, because I finally got to a point where I just believed that the money was going to be there for me, that I was going to be able to pay my bills. I put all of my faith in God, universe, source. I believed, I trusted. And it was like a turning point for me. It was like something all of a sudden clicked, and everything just, since that point, it has not been a struggle since. Everything's been easy, it's been relaxed. I needed to trust and believe. So that was a huge sticking point for me. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to having that fear of the not enoughness that I have always dealt with. But that was always something that I really struggled with. And then a lot of times when I would be struggling, Tasha would be like, you need to have self-love, you need to have self-care. And that was something that was always at the bottom of my list. I was always taking care of everybody else, not myself. And I really struggled with being able to do anything for me. So again, I don't know if anybody can relate to that either, of everybody else always kind of being the first, to put everybody else on the list before you. But she would always tell me, like, go get a massage. And I'm like, how is getting a massage going to help me make more money? But it does. It's really crazy when you start to take care of yourself, how other things just seem easier. And one of the shocking things I remember saying to Tasha is, I've never been so successful with working so little, instead of like having to work really hard. Because I always thought, like, you have to work hard to make money, and all of those, beliefs that we grow up with. That was always something that I struggled with, trying to even wrap my head around the fact that I might be able to actually be more successful if I work less or I don't work as hard. So a lot of it just started to seem easy once I started to follow all of Tasha's advice, and, like I said, really like study the information instead of just reading it. So that really is one of the huge breakthroughs that I've had throughout the whole process of becoming a goddess with Tasha, is to follow her advice, to study the information and the material, and just to really live the things that she's telling us to do, instead of just like taking it in and then not doing anything with it. It's the action that also has to apply. So sometimes you can have the knowledge, but you don't really follow through. And I did that for many, many, many years. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, where you take in the knowledge, but then it doesn't really change anything because you didn't put it into place and put it into action. So I don't know if that helps anybody, but I hope it does. And keep listening to Tasha and keep doing what she says, because she really does know what she's talking about. So I hope, like I said, that helps some of you. And I think Xiomara is going to be taking over next and kind of sharing some of her stories, which probably have a similar thread. You'll probably hear similar themes throughout all of our stories this morning.
I love the way you just put it, Kim, because definitely it resonates so much with me, and the doing part, and then not knowing how it's gonna come. I worry so much about the how. And this is what I was laughing at the very end, because I'm a life coach, and you mentioned how hard it is for us to understand that doing less is going to be better. And it's funny, because one of the things that I used to teach and help the people that I assist was how to do less. And here I was struggling with the same thing. So I totally relate to that. And in my case, I must say that I was very reluctant to start this work with Tasha. There were two main things that I recognized, and it was that I come from a very religious background. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, And many of these things like manifesting and goddess and all these terms kind of make my skin creep a little bit, because I had this other ideas of how things, spiritually speaking, need to be. And I think there was a wall there. What she was saying, and there was so much that made sense to me, and I was even questioning some of these things myself, but yet I would like hold back and no, this is probably a weird theory or something like that. Like I will judge it, if I should say. I will make judgments about it. And then I started going like, there's nothing wrong with just following her and going to the Facebook Live and maybe entering this master class. I started bit by bit, and it was so powerful. It was so powerful at that point that I started thinking, okay, I really would like to work with this woman. That was like my first thought. I really would like to work with Tasha. But here I want to share what was in my mind, in my thought process at that point, and what I thought were limiting beliefs that now I can see that are also like fantasies I had. I thought that I couldn't do this work unless I had the money in my bank account. I don't know if that happens to any of you. Like I want to do these things. I would like to enroll in this program. I would like to, but if I don't have that amount in my bank account, then I cannot do it. And if I use this money to invest on this, because now I see it as an investment, I would think that was not being responsible. So I had all these distortions about how to be responsible and investing in a business. No, 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 no. Investing in myself. No, 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 no. I'm being, neglecting my responsibilities. So I had this idea that unless it was in my bank account, then, oh no, it's not for me. And the other one that was very, like, really strong rooted in me was, if God wanted me to have it, he would have given it to me. If the universe and God wanted me to have it, he would have given it to me, as if I didn't have to do anything. And I'm still struggling with that one, I must say, because one of the things that I have understood in this work with Tasha is that, yeah, the universe, God is going to support me, but there's something that I have to put first. There's something that I have to do with what I have. And to me, that was like blowing my mind. So, but I did something at that point, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna use what I have, my mouth, to ask. And I ask. I said, how can I work with you? How can I do this? And this is funny, you guys. I don't know if it happened, but I booked my call like 4 times and cancel. I will book my call and cancel. Like that struggle I had, I'm telling you, because of my mind. And let me tell you that I started working with Tasha, and still I was like, a little skeptical about everything. I'm grasping it in and kind of listening to all that. And my breaking point was last summer, and Kim and Carol know the story. And it was something that you might find it silly, but it was a very important aspect of my life. And it was that my cat went missing for 3 weeks. He just went missing. I live in the middle of the woods. I don't know if you can see my back. That's actually my backyard. Like, I live in the middle of the woods. And that was a moment that I said, okay, I don't know the how. I just know there's a slight possibility. And what I have learned with Tasha is that I need to do what I can with what I have, and leave the rest to God, universe, source. And now I'm gonna prove if this thing works at all. Honestly, guys, that was my decision in my head. And I gotta tell you that I started putting into practice everything without questioning. Like, that's what I understood what unwavering faith was. and starting my mornings with journaling about cats that show up and reading stories about cats that after months they appear out of nowhere. I started journaling about my own life, looking back and seeing moments that were impossible or things that I didn't think were going to happen or that were going to be possible for me, and how the impossible became possible. And I started with that journaling every morning, and I will be washing my little cat plate, saying that he was coming home, and I would go out in the woods looking for him 3 times a day. Like I did all these things, action with what I had, put in my first percent first, because this is what I realized. It might not, I might not find it, but what if to find him, it takes these first steps from me? And that's what clicked. And I must tell you guys that after 3 weeks, when I found that cat, I mean, if you see where I live, you would say, oh my gosh, that unwavering faith, it was like nature just threw it up back to me, because it was like seeking a needle in a haystack. Is that how I say it? And it worked. And from that moment last summer, I said, okay, let's put both feet in and let's do this. And from that moment, my life started changing in ways that you wouldn't imagine, like the way that people act around me. But again, it's because of what I put first with what I have, the way that people serve me, but again, it's how I serve. I understood that this was like a huge mirror in front of me, and everything that I put out first, that's what's going to come. And to me, that was like huge. I embraced my goddess. I had an issue with the name. You remember that that even in a session I said I even had a problem with the goddess. And one of the things that I learned being in this community is how our mind and our mindset changes, because I just embraced how I feel about myself in a different way, how I see God, source, universe flowing through me, the kind of things that I get to do that help others, that serve others, and the kind of quality of life that now I have. Oh yeah, I'm a goddess. And to me, that comes from that such a religious background. That to me means I am the daughter of a God, the highest, I mean, the highest of the highest. And as I embrace that, the way that I feel, the questions that I ask myself are hugely different from what I used to ask myself before. Like before, I would be like, oh, I cannot do that. How? And into the doing. And now sometimes I just imagine that I'm being interviewed and I'm being asked about how I made my business grew into millions. And I go telling the responses myself of the actions and the steps that I need to do. And then I go, Tasha, and I go like, oh my gosh, Tasha. So it's just the guidance of being with people that have your same struggles and they understand your doubts, but at the same time having a mentor that continuously is working with herself. So and this is something that I gotta say, if you guys are considering working with Tasha, Tasha is the kind of mentor that whatever she discovers, like she can be finding something out right now that works, and within minutes we will have it within seconds in the chat saying, you got to try this. And that to me is an amazing, generous level of someone that is actually guiding me through what I'm doing, since I'm also guiding and serving and helping other people. So to me, this program has changed my life in ways that I would have never imagined. And understanding that many times I think that because it's not in the bank, I cannot do it. It's a total distortion, because the truth is that the resources, there's things little by little that we can start doing. We can ask questions. We can, we'll be led. It's just amazing. The guidance comes and we just get to do it. And finally, because I'd really want to leave this here, I thought whenever I heard the wealth growing kind of aspect, I will get my notebook and start adding the hours that I was working to see how it was going to happen. And of course, the math, I mean, think about it. It doesn't really matter how many hours you put. And that was one of the things that I realized in this community, how limited I was in my mind. Because the truth is that there are channels and things that you can do with this little bit of money put aside, investing it or partnering with someone, and it's just amazing the replay effect that it's going to have. It's just amazing how the wealth grows. But of course, if I didn't have a wealthy mentality, there was no way I was going to be able to understand that. So to me, this program changed the way that I saw life, the perceptions that I had about wealth and about how to do things, and definitely helped me understand that everything is possible, but I need to be willing to do what it implies from me. And it's to do what I can do with what I have.
Thank you, Goddess Kim and Goddess Yamura. My name is Goddess Carol, and I'll tell you a bit about my journey to become a goddess. I started working with Tasha back in 2021. Um, I knew a little bit about journaling and about visualizing, the law of attraction, but I wanted to be able to connect the dots to manifest more money, to manifest more wealth. Um, but again, I just needed to make sure I had everything aligned. So I ended up going on to a 5-day money attraction challenge. And I was like, oh, this is, pretty interesting. So I enrolled in the 120-day money profit mastery program. And after the first 30 days, we had this vision call. And the vision call, at the beginning, there was a guided meditation led by Tasha. And she said, you may receive a word or something during the meditation. And certainly I did. I received 2 words. One of them was art. I thought that was, kind of odd, because at the time I was reading a book, and that chapter was about the art of visualization. In addition, I studied art when I was in high school, but that was 30 years ago. So I messaged Tasha in the group and I said, Tasha, I did receive the word art. Um, and I'm not sure because I was studying, reading this book, and it was about the art of visualization. And I studied art in high school, but I didn't pursue it as a career. And she said, Carol, she said, you get to decide. Well, I decided, and it didn't mean anything to me, so I just put it in the back of my mind. So at the conclusion of the 120-day program, I did learn so much about me, and there was just so much more. I had a burning desire to still connect the dots, to know more, to receive more, to understand, and to know. So I continued with the elites. Now, in the elites program, it was building your business. I had a professional career. I didn't have my own business. Honestly, I didn't have any type of business concept in mind. My life revolved around my family, my husband and my children. So, I thought about, what kind of business would my husband want, or what kind of business would my children want, but it was nothing that was for me. So, in a conversation I had with a friend, and this friend I happened to meet in the 120-day program, we became accountability partners, and just, we had sons around the same age. So in a conversation one evening, somehow art came up, and I says, I studied art. I was an artist. I studied art in school, and she said, it's never too late. You could do collage art. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess so. So again, I put that in the back of my mind. And when it was time to do these manifested boards for the business I wanted to create, I created 5. I only had to create 1, but I created 5. And the 5th one that I created was for an art gallery. And this art gallery was going to be for adults that wanted to pursue art And it involved, mentoring, because that was another, something that I was passionate about, mentoring. So when it was time to hand in my manifested board, I did not do the one for the art gallery. I didn't bring that one to birth, but again, I kept it in the back of my mind. So months later, I received a advertisement about an art class for adults at the Brooklyn Museum. So I said, interesting. So I applied for this art class. I got accepted into the class. It was for 10 weeks, and little did I know, it was for adults. It was gratis. I won't say free. It was a gratis art class. And at the conclusion of the art class, my work was on display in a gallery at the Brooklyn Museum. That was the first of 3 sessions I took at the museum. And at the conclusion of each one, my work was on display. I can't put a dollar amount on the art class or my work being on display, because that was priceless. Pursuing that was something I did not know existed. And art was a part of me. And if I did not pursue the 120-day program or the elites, and still going into the Goddess program, I don't know when or if that part of me would have surfaced. So now in my office, I have my artwork that I created in the art classes on display, or I have them hung in my office. And I'm able to appreciate what I created every day. I incorporate creativity into my work. It's a part of me. It's a part of who I am. And one thing, going back to the elites, when I was in the elite program, one day I received Take Off the 5 Faces. And I didn't understand that. So, anytime that I received something, either I would message Tasha, like, what does this mean? Or I would kind of dig deeper, do my own research, maybe look for the spiritual significance or whatever it means. So, I realized that there was just so much of me that I didn't appreciate, I didn't know, I didn't understand. And just going through the programs and listening to Tasha, the guidance, the mentoring, I was able to uncover things about myself that I did not know existed. When I look back to the journaling that I did, and there were things that I wrote. I did write about this art class in the gallery back in 2019, but I didn't realize that until it happened. And then I go back and look, I'm like, wow, I did journal about this. So now I'm able to connect the dots. As a goddess, now I know just how powerful I am, what I can do, what I can create. At one time, I had just a problem with, am I dreaming big enough? Am I seeing beyond what's in front of me? But, as Kim said, we do a lot of studying, a lot of reading. And what I'm learning now is I'm on the right path. If I stay true to myself, if I continue just to believe in my ability and look at what I've already created, I'm powerful, very powerful. Just a few other things. It's going through this program, it has not only benefited me, but it's a rippling effect, because it's benefited my husband. It's like a 360 with him. My children, I remember when my daughter was in college, I was thinking and worrying, like, how am I going to pay for this? And pay for the tuition, but also to, with the programs and being mentored by Tasha. And she said, you know what, when you journal about that end scene, not paying the tuition for the semester, journal about the end, see her at her graduation, see her having her job. My daughter graduated from college in December. Tuition was paid for. She walked into a job. So listening to those little things was definitely, inspiring. Now I know the truth, and definitely benefited leaps and bounds from being mentored by Tasha.
Yay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That is amazing. I think that all of our stories have a very similar thread running through them. So hopefully this was helpful to everybody that's out there watching. Are there any last words any of you guys want to say before they sign us off?
Definitely to believe and to give yourself a chance. It's a give of love to yourself, like we just did, and our lives are like way above and beyond our wildest dreams. That's what I want for everybody.
One thing
Agreed.
I want to add too is to ask. Don't hesitate to ask. Yes, don't hesitate to ask. And no ask is too large.
That's right.
Mhm.
I never was asking big enough. That's for sure.
Correct. Correct.
All right. Well, everybody have a fantastic week. And I believe Tasha will be back next week. You never know when we're going to take over again, but hope everyone has a wonderful, wealthy Monday. We'll see you soon.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.